Hi, Brandon Walker, more Cowbell, the Mississippi State podcast presented by SEC Country. Beautiful Monday. Warming up outside. It's sunny. What a beautiful day. You know what else is beautiful about today? The Patriots lost the Super Bowl. That's beautiful. Are we not happy about that? Yes, we are happy about that. Fletcher Cox wins the Super Bowl. Part of the winning team. Good for him. That's Mississippi State's Fletcher Cox and Yazoo City's Fletcher Cox. Please don't get upset if he says Yazoo City. That's silly. I'll talk about that later. Busy time for Mississippi State. A lot going on. Big win for Mississippi State on Saturday in basketball. Big game for Mississippi State's men's basketball tomorrow night. Huge game for Mississippi State women's basketball tonight. Biggest game maybe in the history of Humphrey Coliseum as far as the women's basketball team is concerned. It's a lot going on, man. A lot going on at Mississippi State. Good things. The men's basketball team finally starting to turn that corner. Starting to feel good about that program again for the first time in forever. We'll talk about all that. I'll talk about everything we need to talk about. Terp on vacation in New York. So it's ladies' night here at More Cowbell. I got Kaya over there as producing the podcast. I got Landshark.
It's ladies' night, so we're feeling right.
That happened. That's a thing that happened. Oh, what a night. Yep, I like it. I'm with you. All right. Because it's ladies' night. Yeah, I like it. I like where your head's at. I don't know where you got that idea, but I like it. All right, so that's Landshark. She'll never be allowed to talk again. So we'll talk about everything we need to talk about. We'll talk about basketball, women's basketball, recruiting, all of that. We'll get into it. Today's top five, since I'm getting in the recruiting mood. State's going to be signing a class on Wednesday or finishing up a class. I'm going to do the top five recruiting gems for Mississippi State. The top five recruiting gems. The hidden gems, the little 2- and 3-star guys that weren't supposed to be anything. Yeah, I got the top five list of those. I think you can pretty much guess numbers. You can probably guess the whole list. It's all been recent. All of it has been recently. Hail State from Alaska. Terp checking in. You guys see that Michael Shalaba is on here. You know I love me some Brandon Walker and more Cowbell because I just halted moving into my new house for this. Thank you, Pamela Hilliard, with 10 heart emojis. Thank you very much. You know she means it when it's 10 hearts. Like it wasn't just 3 hearts or 4. That was the full Legend of Zelda heart line right there. Just, no, nothing? Okay. Fayette, Alabama, hello. Good morning, Tom Farley. Even when he's on vacation, he's still here, says Morgan Maurice Willis. Yeah, we're not going to acknowledge him. Jonathan Banks. Yeah, probably should have made the list, now that I think about it. Probably should have made the list. Didn't make the list. Probably should have. Hello, Ryan McMichael. What's up? In Minneapolis, sporting my MSU swag, says Jordan McMillan. Wow. Somebody went to the Super Bowl. Hello, Moneybags. Man, I'm jealous of you. Unless you just live there, and then I'm not jealous at all. What's up, Hugh Freeze's twin brother, says David Bridges. I do not look... What? Do I look like Hugh? No. I do not look like Hugh Freeze.
Your twin.
No, absolutely not. I have not even called an escort in the last 48 hours. 72? All right. Hello, Raleigh, North Carolina. Hashtag no more Terp, says Lance Chain. Oh, Jordan McMillan was working the game. He was working at the Super Bowl. Well, I'm still jealous of you. That's still awesome. That is incredible. I know it's cold there. Dylan White says, what about Hugh Freeze going to Bama? Hugh Freeze ain't going to Bama. Unless it's been reported in the last 3 minutes, Hugh Freeze is not going to Bama. Here's what happens with Hugh Freeze. You get excited. Alabama or Missouri or some place will get excited about hiring him because he's a good football coach, and then they'll get to the background check, and it's over. It's over. Because probably about 10% of what Hugh Freeze was into has come out. That's my guess. New Hampshire Bulldog. Hello, Meredith Wilson. Gadbois? Gadbois is what I'm guessing there. Justin Burford says, I feel so good about basketball right now. Me too, and I'll get into all that.
New
First,
viewers.
what? Yeah, I do have some new viewers. I got a lot of people here today. People love Brandon Walker, though. Have you ever noticed that? People love Brandon Walker. Big fans of Brandon Walker. Can't blame them. I'm terrific. Hey. All right. Before I get started, I got to tell you what happened to me yesterday. The Super Bowl was yesterday, right? The Super Bowl. There are 52 Sundays in a year. Only one of them has a Super Bowl. And the last 51 Sundays, been flawless, been perfect, no problems. Super Bowl starts at 6:30 Eastern time, all right? So about 5:50 or 6 o'clock, I have worked all day. I took my family to church because I'm a good Christian. I'm a good person. Now I am sounding like Hugh Freeze. But I took my family to church, then I did the work, then I cooked. I cooked some chicken wings. And finally, it was time for me to relax. Men, you know this feeling. And women, you probably know this feeling too, but men, you know this feeling. That feeling when you finally sit in the recliner and you kick it back for the first time all day. That feeling where you kick that recliner back. You've checked out of everything else and the recliner kicks back. As soon as that recliner kicked back, I heard my wife say, "Brandon, we have a problem." And I knew the way she said it, we had a real problem. My son, my 5-year-old, stuck a toy, a little piece of a toy. A piece of a toy. First of all, this toy is called Num Nums, okay? And it's supposed to smell like food, so they sniff it. We sniffed it too hard. Part of it broke up and went up his nose. All the way up, too, like to the brain. And I tried to get it out, tried everything I could. Eventually, I had to take him to the emergency room, and it took like 5 hours, but they got it out. Missed the entire Super Bowl. Didn't see a down on the Super Bowl. Didn't know who won until I was going home. Love my kids. But boy, he owes me one for that one. Hail State, Tupelo, Mississippi. Hello, Christopher Stewart. Greg Creel says, "I am ready for some baseball. Are you going to USM for opening baseball weekend?" No, I'm in Atlanta, Greg. So it's difficult for me to go to USM. Now, I would love to go. I'd love for that to be something I was doing. But no, I won't be doing it. Justin Burford says, "Call Tom Mars." I like that. I like that a lot. My son is okay, though. He is okay. Thank you for asking. Somebody says land shark greater than Terp. You see that one? Oh, that was you. You wrote that. Bill Hurt says, "Have patience with Howland. You won't hire one better. He's class all the way. He's been to 3 Final Fours, 2 more than us. We'll be at least in the Sweet 16 next year." I don't know if we'll be in the Sweet 16 next year, but I agree with everything else you said about Howland. Howland's a good coach. It's finally happening. It's finally turning around, and you can finally see the light at the end of the tunnel. I have talked too much. We've gone too far here, so we got to get into this podcast. We'll be back at the end of the show, and we can talk about whatever you'd like to talk about. Today on the show, I'm going to talk about men's basketball. I'm going to talk about women's basketball. I'm going to talk about recruiting. I'm going to talk about Fletcher Cox and why some fans on message boards are being ridiculous. And then I'll talk number 5, today's top 5, the top 5 recruiting gems in Mississippi State history. You ready? Let's do it.
The More Cowbell Show, brought to you by SEC Country. And now, your host of the More Cowbell Show, Brandon Walker.
Hi, More Cowbell, the Mississippi State podcast presented by SEC Country. I'm Brandon Walker. Good to have you here. Thanks for being here. I just spilled my water off my desk. I have a giant water, and I just spilled my water off my desk. And there's a big mess in the studio now. And we're going to go forward. I'm Brandon Walker. More Cowbell. Boy, I'm shook right now. It's okay. We're going to talk about men's basketball. We're going to talk about women's basketball. We're going to talk about recruiting. And we'll get to all of it. Today's top 5, the top 5 recruiting gems in recent Mississippi State history. I say recent because, I don't know what recruiting was like in the 70s. I really don't. Or the 60s. Or even the 80s. But I know since 2001 they've had this star system that might be the worst thing that ever happened to college football. But going by recent years, I'm going to say the top 5 recruiting gems in Mississippi State history. I'm real touched right now about this water. I need the water, and the water's on the floor. Are we just going to let the mess stay there? We're just going to let the mess stay there? I mean, there's nothing we can do, right? What if it gets on a cord and I get shocked? Nope, nothing? Okay. Terp not here today. Terp on vacation, so I've got Landshark and Kaya. Kaya, the new producer. I like her much more than I like Terp. I like the ladies' night here we got going on in the studio. Much better. I like being the center of attention, the only dude in the room. No? Yes? Okay, you don't like that at all. Anyway, let's go ahead and get to it. Brandon Walker, More Cowbell, the Mississippi State podcast presented by SEC Country. I feel so good about our men's basketball team all of a sudden. I have never really felt terrible this year, although there were times. The Ole Miss loss tested everything I had. The Auburn loss, where we played well enough to win, tested everything I had. But this team is turning the corner. I don't know, that's a phrase. That's certainly turning a phrase that they're turning the corner. But it is true. I don't know how long the corner is. I don't know what it means. I don't know if State can fight their way into the tournament this year, but you can't rule it out. You certainly can't rule out making noise in the NIT. It's a team that was getting better before this current winning streak, and we're talking about them because Mississippi State just handled Georgia. From the opening tip, just handled Georgia at home the other day. Absolutely took control of the game and never really gave Georgia much of an opportunity. I think it was pretty much a 10, 15, 18-point lead the entirety of that game. And that's the kind of effort at home that you have to have in this league. This league is a war every game. Every game. But I think this team was getting better before this 3-game streak started. They were getting better. We just didn't see the results yet. The game at Kentucky was a step in the right direction. They played well for 35 minutes, kind of fell apart at the end. But the game against Alabama's a good team, went to Tuscaloosa and had every chance to win that game, played extremely well in the second half, but never really put it together. Now in this 3-game streak, you're starting to see this team play well from opening tip to the end. And that is exciting to see. 17-6, 5-5 in the SEC, right there in the mix, in the top 6 right now of a very, very competitive league. This league has the attention of the nation, right? I mean, the nation has recognized that this league is very, very good right now. Now, it doesn't have a national title contender. It doesn't have maybe even an Elite 8 contender, but it has about 7 or 8 teams that could do damage in March. And this team is playing right with that group. This team might be a part of that group. This team is now 17-6, like I said, 5-5 overall. If you win tomorrow night against Alabama, which is probably the biggest men's game in the last of this decade at the Humphrey Coliseum. If you win tomorrow night, suddenly you're 18-6 and you're 6-5. You have a winning record in conference. Suddenly you look like a team who's preparing to make a run to possibly get in the NCAA tournament. I love the schedule going home. I love the schedule over the last 6 or 7 games of this season. Get Ole Miss at home. Can you win that? Yeah. Can you beat Alabama at home? Yeah. Can you beat Vanderbilt or LSU on the road? Yeah, you sure can. Can you beat Tennessee at home? That's the big question. Tennessee, a very good team. They're 7-3, second in the SEC, only behind Auburn. Can you beat Tennessee at home? I think you can, and if you do, that gives you a really good RPI boost. I think Tennessee's the most important game State has left this year. It all comes down to me, the players on this team have embraced their roles. They've stopped trying to announce their presence with authority. They've stopped trying to be what they think they need to be, and instead they're being what Ben Howland needs them to be. And I think it starts with Lamar Peters. That guy is as talented as it gets. He is very, very good. During our dry spells this year, he wasn't very good, and he got suspended, didn't play a couple of games, and he had to work his way back, and he did. Now he's starting again and playing very, very, very well. When Lamar Peters is starting and playing well, this team is different because he's a very good player. It gives you another good player. You can count on Quindary Weatherspoon being good. I don't know about great, but good. Eric Holman has been good for a majority of the season. Nick Weatherspoon has shown signs of being very, very good. And now you add in Lamar Peters, that's just another good player. If he's right, this team has another dimension to it. I think Nick Weatherspoon continues to really show you that he's got greatness in his future. He's just a terrific player. But I never do this right. I do. Abdul Adu has become a dependable offensive player in the post, and that's a game changer. That is an absolute game changer. If he can score 16, if he can score 14, if he can score 12, you change the look of your team. And State shot 51% from the field the other day, and that's good enough. That's terrific, especially when you have the number one defense in the SEC. Ben Howland has built the defense. Give him credit for it. The offense has, not been there all year. Now it's kind of there, and they're winning a little bit. But give Howland credit for building that defense first. But the most important thing that has happened, other than embracing roles, the most important thing that has happened, just making shots. That's all there is to it. We were not getting bad shots in the Ole Miss game or the Auburn game. We're just not making them. And going to 35% from three instead of less than 20% is a gigantic difference. You're talking about 2 or 3 made threes a game, and that's all the difference was in the losses and the wins earlier this season. Just shooting better. Just not missing open shots. You can't not shoot threes. People say always 2, never 3. That's ridiculous. You can't not shoot threes. You got to shoot them. It's college basketball in 2018. We'd have to get to 22 or 23 wins to really have a case to be in the NCAA tournament, but it's not out of the question. And I think right now we're a solid NIT team, something we haven't been in a long, long time. It's not out of the question to get to 22 or 23. Alabama tomorrow night starts it. Huge game. Tennessee in a couple of weeks. Huge game. And you got to get at least 1, maybe 2 on the road. And you've got opportunity for that. You've got Vanderbilt. You got LSU. You got Missouri. You got A&M. You can get 2 road games out of that. You can get 2 road wins. But the bottom line is, for the first time in 7 years, I feel good about the direction of this men's basketball program. I can see where it is going, and I am all aboard. I'm with them. I feel great about it. Talk about recruiting. State closing things out. Signing day is on Wednesday, the national signing day. Of course, the early signing period has taken some of the shine off of this, both nationally and with us. State signed 15 guys in December, 15 good players, I think, or a terrific start. And, they're not going to finish as strong as they started. And I think that makes some fans forget about the start. If this were a regular signing day and we were getting ready to sign Marcus Murphy on Wednesday, or Malik Heath, or Stephen Guidry, or Devontae Jason, or Jalen Maiden, you'd be excited. But the fact that these guys are already signed and kind of pushed off to the side now, you look at what we're finishing with, and I think some fans aren't as excited. Well, you need to fix your attitude there. This is going to be a good transition class for Mississippi State and Joe Moorhead. His real test on the recruiting trail starts right now and goes from now until National Signing Day in February of 2019. Or the early signing period if they do indeed have it again. So I'm looking at it, and I'm following along the recruiting writers, and I think I've got the list of 7 guys that we're probably going to sign on Wednesday. Now, will all these guys sign? Maybe, maybe not. Will there be a surprise? I don't know. There certainly was with Shamar Kilby-Lane on early signing period. So there's always a surprise or two. But if I'm reading the tea leaves right, it looks like we're going to finish with Fabian Lovett, defensive lineman from Olive Branch, Nathaniel Watson, a wide receiver tight end from Alabama, Esaias Furge, a cornerback from Clarksdale, Jalen Reed, a cornerback from Olive Branch, who looks to be back in the fold, Aaron Brule, or Brule, I don't know, I haven't talked to the man, from Louisiana, safety outside linebacker, Jalen Robinson, an offensive lineman from Kansas, is a very good possibility, and then John Corrice Patterson, wide receiver from Pearl, who will go to JUCO. So that looks to be the list that you're signing. There's Eddie Smith, a cornerback from Louisiana that looks like he's going to sign with Alabama. He got that opportunity. It looks like a real offer, so it looks like he's probably leaning towards Alabama. But that's 7 right there. And there's some good recruiting in that bunch because Fabian Lovett, to me, was the first sign that this staff is different from the last staff. Fabian Lovett was it was organized. It was an orchestrated New Year's Eve flip from Ole Miss. You can tell. We've seen this movie before. But this movie doesn't look like it's going to end like the others. He did the orchestrated flip. Ole Miss was doing what they do. They were behind the scenes. They were having the conversations that they have. And Fabian Lovett flipped. Well, guess what? It looks like Fabian Lovett might be back in the fold. It looks like Mississippi State could sign Fabian Lovett. And that is a coaching staff that stared down Ole Miss's propaganda and its BS and wasn't scared of it and got back in the game and potentially signs a very, very good player out of Olive Branch. Jalen Reed, a player from Olive Branch who, State appeared to drop a couple of weeks ago. It looks like he's back in the fold. Good for him. But I think if you add Fabian Lovett and if you add Jalen Robinson, a much-needed offensive line body to what we've already signed, I think it's a successful class. Is it a top 10 class? No. The top 20 class? Borderline. But I think it meets the needs. You got your receivers. You got Fabian Lovett, who will be a good player for us once Jeffrey Simmons goes to the pros. You got things you need. And offensive line is the glaring need coming out of this class, and State will have to address it and address it big time in 2019, and hopefully they will. Tonight's the big one, though. Women's basketball, Mississippi State hosting South Carolina. I'm tittering with anticipation. Tittering with anticipation. No, you don't like that? Okay. Anyway, I am shaking with anticipation over State playing South Carolina. Biggest women's basketball game ever on campus at Mississippi State University. And you could argue the biggest basketball game ever played at Humphrey Coliseum. I tend to go with, one of those late 90s Kentucky's games or 91 when we played LSU with an SEC title on the line. But you could make an argument for this one. You can make an argument for it. It's a huge game nationally for us and in the SEC. It feels like with a 2-game lead over everybody, we go ahead and eliminate South Carolina tonight. It feels like State could win the SEC tonight. They could go ahead and go a long way to go ahead and finishing this SEC race tonight. It's all downhill from here as far as the schedule. You've already played Tennessee. You've already played Missouri. Now you're playing South Carolina. It seems like tonight is the last true hurdle for this team. And it's a hurdle that they tried to climb 3 times last year and couldn't do it. Now, at South Carolina, they got a terrible whistle and were just jobbed out of that game. In the SEC championship, didn't play very well, also got a bad whistle. But in the national title game, just got beat by South Carolina. Just got beat, and they beat us for a national title. Now they come here to our place. Finally, they have to play in the Humphrey Coliseum. Finally, we don't have to play them in South Carolina or at a neutral site in South Carolina. Finally, we get possibly a fair shake. South Carolina has kind of become a villain the last couple of weeks with the way they acted against Missouri both times. Dawn Staley getting ejected. Not sure they're very well liked. And we owe them for 3 losses last year. We owe them. This is what the program was built for, to create moments like this, games like this. It'll be full in the Humphrey Coliseum tonight. When's the last time the Hump was truly full? Truly full. Every seat filled. Boy, I don't know. Unless the women have done it during one of their recent tournament games, which they hosted. I can't remember another time where it's happened. I'm excited about this. We'll talk more about it tomorrow as we know what happened, but I'm excited. Fletcher Cox, I'm excited for him. Good for him. Yazoo City guy, comes to Mississippi State as a 4 or 5-star recruit. Is very good. Now goes to Philadelphia and is one of the best players on the best defense in the league and now wins the Super Bowl. Great to see Fletcher Cox win it. But it's not really about Fletcher Cox, this little segment right here. Keep showing the pictures of Fletcher Cox because I do like it on the Facebook Live. But there was a couple of posts on message boards, and I've seen on Twitter a couple of people saying they're mad. They're State fans that are mad. Fletcher Cox says Yazoo City in his intro instead of Mississippi State. To which I say, shut up. Just stop. Stop it. Are you serious? What kind of child are you? That is the most embarrassing thing I've ever seen a State fan say. You yahoos that get all up in your feelings because he says Yazoo City instead of Mississippi State embarrass me. You embarrass me. And I look ridiculous. I'm a terrible looking guy. It takes a lot to embarrass me. It's just ridiculous. He's a hometown kid from Mississippi that's putting Yazoo City on the map. And now I know the story that he says Yazoo City to honor his late coach. And I don't know if that's true or not. I assume it is true or it wouldn't be out there. But that's beautiful if it's true. Even if it weren't true, Even if he was just saying Yazoo City because that's his hometown, that's where he comes from, and he wants to give that little town a shout out, what would be the big deal? If I went on there, NBC Sports Tonight, I would probably say Mississippi State, but I might say Point City. I would ask him, can I do two? Can I do one for Mississippi State and one for Point City? Because he's not from Starkville. He's not just a Mississippi State Bulldog. He's also a Yazoo City, whatever they are. It just bothers me. Why would you we got a player, one of the best players in the league on the national stage, the biggest stage, doing good, doing great, representing state with class, representing state the right way, and you get all pissed off because he says Yazoo City. Shut up. Sorry.
Yazoo City Indians.
Is that right? That doesn't feel right. That doesn't feel right. You sure?
I'm pretty positive.
Is it on Max Preps? Okay. All right. Today's top five recruiting gems for Mississippi State. Again, the recruiting rankings began about 2001. So I don't have anything before that. And I got the top 5 list here, and already on Facebook Live somebody corrected me and gave me one. So I'll give you the honorable mentions. I'll give you the honorable mentions first. I don't remember what Titus Brown was. I think he was a 3-star, though, from Tuscaloosa that Alabama didn't want. Gabe Jackson, I think, was all these guys are 3-star or below. I don't remember what KJ Wright was, so he was a honorable mention. Josh Robinson, I remember. I think I've got him as a honorable mention. Preston Smith, playing for the Redskins now, 3-star from Stone Mountain, Georgia. Darunya Wilson, who almost made the list because he was a 2-star nobody wanted. And the fact that he didn't make the pros makes people look back and apparently think he wasn't all that good. Darunya Wilson was a fantastic college football wide receiver. An amazing college football wide receiver. He was fantastic for Mississippi State. Great player. So I had Darunya Wilson as my last honorable mention. Number 5, 2-star out of Brunswick, Georgia, Darius Slay. Darius Slay ended up going to JUCO, but then came back to Mississippi State. Darius Slay in the defensive backfield with Jonathan Banks. Locked up one side of the field, then gets to the pros and is an all-pro player. A phenomenal player for the Detroit Lions, one of the best cornerbacks in the league, Darius Slay. Number 4, we're going in order, right? Number 4, Nick Fitzgerald. 2-star out of Richmond Hill, Georgia. Nobody wanted. Dan Mullen saw it. I know I'm not supposed to say nice things about Dan Mullen, but he saw it. He saw a guy that could play at this level and could play in his offense. It was him and Middle Tennessee State that wanted him, and he ended up getting him. And Nick Fitzgerald, my number 4. Number 3, back to the Slay Banks era, Jonathan Banks. All he did was go from a 2-star at East Webster over there in Cumberland, Mississippi, in Webster County. All he did was win the Thorpe Award. Started for 4 years. Was great at Mississippi State as a cornerback and a safety. I got Jonathan Banks at number 3. Number 2, Bernardrick McKinney was a 2-star quarterback from somewhere in the Delta. Where was he from? Somewhere over there. Roosevelt? Not Tunica. Where was he from? Anyway, Bernardrick McKinney was a 2-star quarterback nobody wanted. And it was in the same class that 5-star linebacker C.J. Johnson decided to sign with Ole Miss. And he decided he would go to Ole Miss, so Mississippi State signs 2-star linebacker Bernardrick McKinney, which was a good decision by Johnson because he was able to avoid the later stresses of what to do with all his NFL money and all the pounding the NFL gives you, and he was able to start a career path that led him to being a JUCO assistant coach. Whereas Bernardrick McKinney has to worry about all the money he's making and hiring all the people to manage it. So, good decision by CJ to throw his career away by signing with Ole Miss. And number 1, Dak Prescott. Come on. Did you think it was going to be anybody else? Could it have been anybody else? Number 1, Dak Prescott, 3-star. LSU was like, yeah, I don't know. Maybe we'll sign him. Maybe we won't. Dan Mullen says, I'll take him. Comes up here, changes the program, gets in the Heisman race, takes us to number 1, becomes QB1 for the Dallas Cowboys. Dak Prescott, number 1. But that's my list. Darius Slay, Nick Fitzgerald, Jonathan Banks, Bernardrick McKinney, and Dak Prescott. If I've missed anybody, please tell me on the Facebook Live. Tell me how big of an idiot I am. And I'll probably agree with you. Until next time, that's my show. You've been listening to More Cowbell, the Mississippi State podcast presented by SECCountry.com. Can we talk about the fact that not one person in there has come to get me another water? I spilled the water in the intro. All right, this table is ridiculous. I spilled the water, and not one person is still sitting there. The cup.
You can get your own water.
Hello, Stan C. Riddle. Tim Lee says Chris Jones. Chris Jones was a 5-star. Chris Jones was the number 2 player in the country when he signed. He started as a 3-star and would have been a recruiting gem, but he got to 5 stars, so can't count him. Michael Clyburn says Turp would have cleaned it up. Steve C. says, welcome to the new reality. Well, I don't expect them to clean it up. They don't have to clean it up. I just want another water. Throat's scratchy out here. No, nothing. Not even moving. And you're showing me your water. That's classy. That's what that is. Because it's ladies' night. And the feeling's right. And I don't know the words. Something rhymes with right.
'Cause it's ladies'
Stop it.
night.
Stop it.
Right.
You didn't ring the cowbell in the intro. Kane Martin is going to be so upset. God, I didn't. You know why? Because I spilled that water. I don't think y'all saw it because it was behind the helmet. I don't think they saw it on camera. I take my water, I put it right here, and it dives off. Anthony Dixon was pretty good, I thought. He was a 4-star, Nick Birmingham. That was not a recruiting gem. I mean, there are certain players are going to be good, and Anthony Dixon came with a lot of hype. These guys didn't come with hype. Dak Prescott didn't come with a lot of hype. Jonathan Banks came with no hype. So this was the guys that Jay Hammer says, Brandon, I think you got into Mark Templeton's feelings today because you didn't give him the helmet. He's all up in his feelings. Is that right? Was somebody talking about? I didn't mean to. I think I'm going to auction the helmet off so we can give the money to Caesar. How much money could we get for that helmet if we auction it off? If we auction the helmet off, how much? Thank you. Amanda Walker says, that's like nobody taking the preacher another water. If you were in church and your preacher dropped his water, don't you think somebody would get up and take him some water?
Did you just compare yourself to a preacher?
My God, I am like Hugh Freeze, aren't I? Dak's definitely the best hidden gem ever, but what's crazy is Dante Walker is the highest rated recruit that we have ever landed, but the star system wasn't in place. Yeah. I agree with you on Fletcher. Yazoo is where he got his start. Nothing wrong with calling out your hometown. I agree. I would call out my hometown. I love my hometown. I love Mississippi State. I love them both. Don't make a guy say Mississippi State just because it makes you feel good. If you want Mississippi State to be called out, go become a 5-star recruit, play 3 years, go to the pros, and become a Philadelphia Eagle. Give yourself the platform. I would expect a preacher to be nicer to his staff, says Matt Weisinger. That's actually true.
Thank you.
That's actually true.
Thank you, Matt.
I like Cam Lawrence a lot. That's not bad. Michael Clyburn. That's a good one. I don't know if he makes the list I just had, but Darunyon Wilson was the hardest one to keep off to me. Justin Burford. That's funny. Adrian Brown asks, how is Caesar doing? I'm going to see him at 6 o'clock tonight. I'm going downtown. He's in Atlanta at a rehab center. I'm going to go see him at 6 o'clock tonight. So I will have an update tomorrow. Plus, it would be fun to say Yazoo City like Jerry Clower on TV, says Chris Van Zant. I like where your head's at. Fire Land Shark, she is annoying, said Tim Franks. I don't think she's annoying. I think she's doing her job.
On me today.
They are. No, they hate on you most days. Listen, let's be honest here, okay? You could be the most competent, funniest, best person in the world.
I am.
Okay, you are. You could be all those things. You went to Ole Miss. I mean, it shows poor decision making. It shows you didn't have a lot of options, and it shows that we don't like you. Sorry, I don't like you.
Tim Doss.
But Tim Doss, he doesn't know what he's talking about. I know Tim Doss. I grew up with Tim Doss. All right. He had to have his own special classes. He doesn't know what he's talking.
Like,
Who? Derek Myers is drunk. He is drunk. Trust me. Have Landshark turn up her mic. More Landshark, less Terp. Okay, maybe they do like you. Maybe they do like you. Is the youngest Weatherspoon brother on our radar? He's 6'5" and can ball. Just haven't heard much about him. Class of 19. I think he is. I'm almost certain he is. I don't know if he has an official offer, but I think he's on the radar. We have all made choices we regret later, says Steve C. Bonnie Williamson Gable says, oh my God, what kind of person doesn't get someone water? Thank you. Thank you very much. It's tough. When I grew up in West Point, Mississippi, when I was 8 years old, going to Southside Elementary, I dreamed of one day having a podcast at SEC Country. And in that dream, I had people that cared about me, that supported me.
Who's supposed to get you water?
That would bring me a water. That would bring me a water when I was thirsty. It's okay.
Would you like me to call someone?
I guess dreams don't come true, though, do they? Dreams don't come true. If this show was a church, Hannah would need to stay at the altar because of her sin of going to Ole Miss. Because it's ladies' night. Okay. Derek Meyer says he hasn't had anything to drink since 1:45 a.m. last night. Derek, listen. 1:45 a.m. on a Monday morning. I don't want to be the guy to tell you, but kind of pull back a little bit. Cameron Lawrence was a beast. What do you think he was? He was a very good player. Very good player. How many wins do you think we need to get in the tournament? 22 or 23? See, this is how I can tell who didn't watch the podcast and who did. But that's okay. I think 23 wins probably is what we need to get in the tournament. And I think that's pre-SEC tournament. If we get one there, get to 24, I'd start to feel really good. Can we get there? I don't know. You're talking now about 6 more wins. You'd have to go. We got 9 games. 6-3 would be really optimistic in the regular season. You haven't done a bedtime story in a while. I know that. But the Ole Miss site just haven't written anything really. Excuse me. They haven't written anything really worthy of a bedtime story. They've kind of fallen asleep on their job. They haven't been all that delusional and stupid lately, which I know is surprising. Being from Mossy Oak, shouldn't you be? Being from West Point, shouldn't you be wearing Mossy Oak? Says Les Young. See, I don't hunt. I've never really. I don't think I've ever owned a piece of Mossy Oak. I'm just waiting for them to give me stuff. If they give me stuff, I'll wear it. But I don't hunt. I don't have any moral problem with hunting. It's just really early, really cold, and I'm scared of guns. But other than that, I'm all aboard. RPI still low. Yeah, Chris Van Zant. RPI is a little low, but it'll jump up when we beat Alabama, and if we beat Tennessee, it'll jump up handsomely. So those are the 2 most important games. You need those for RPI purposes. Is Austin Crowley still on our radar? 4-star shooting guard, used to be from West Point, now playing in Sunrise, Kansas. I think he's on the radar. I know Alabama's after him too. I don't know much about his recruiting. I know that he comes from a very athletic family in West Point and is a very good basketball player, but I don't know much about his recruiting process. Just win the SEC tournament? Well, that'd be fun. That'd be fun, Tim Lee. I can still wear it? Yeah. If I had some Mossy Oak, I'd wear it. I wouldn't be ashamed of wearing it. Obviously proud of my hometown, Point City. What else we got? 12:25, we're good. We still got about 5-7 minutes left. So what's for lunch today, Landshark? What are we eating today? You know, if you wore the headset, you wouldn't have to pick it up every time I ask you a question. Go ahead.
We go over to the Cox building.
Do I want to eat Cox today? Yeah, maybe. Sounds good. People from West Point wear hunting gear everywhere, including high school football games, says Woe Townsend. Yes, they do. I'll tell you, mossy oak's everywhere. I'm in Georgia. I see mossy oak all the time. Kaya, you okay? All right. Talk about crawfish. We cooked some last night. I love crawfish. Crawfish are delicious. Y'all like crawfish? Land shark, you like crawfish? Yeah.
I'm from the South. I love crawfish. Unlike
Kevin Wright says, I'm stuck at jury duty. Let's not talk about food, please. Kevin Wright, what's your favorite food? I want to talk about it right now. What is your favorite food? What do you miss the most in life right now at jury duty? I've never had jury duty. Never had it. Could you imagine if I showed up to determine your faith, though? Betty Anderson says, hope your little boy is okay. Yeah, he is. He is. He got something stuck way up his nose. They had to sedate him so they could take it out because it just wasn't coming out. And they took it out. It took like 3 or 4 hours. But it is out. He got a little nauseous because of the sedation. But he is. I got him home about 11:30. Woke up this morning. He's fine. He's good. And now I got to go buy him a treat for being so brave. Nobody bought me anything. I was brave. Nobody's going to buy me a damn thing. I'm just waiting for someone to come flying across something. Derek Myers. I'm from Columbia, and I wear mossy oak. Watching the men's team get better over the season has been reassuring, says Adrian D. Brown. I hope the fans give them support down the stretch. They need it in the upcoming weeks. I agree. They've earned it. I hope we have a big crowd tomorrow night. I hope we have a big crowd. Somebody, Grace Thacker Good says, you're going to eat with land shark? No. God, no. No. When the cool kids over there, when the Shrekking crew goes to eat lunch, they all go as a group. Then I go get my tray and sit at a table by myself. That's the truth.
he's not lying.
I'm not lying. I do. I like to sit by myself. It gives me the option to leave. And I don't have to talk to you guys. You know, you see me on this, and I'm so gregarious and likable and wonderful. But in real life, I'm not so much. Not at all. Not even a little bit. Come to Pelham, Alabama, and I'll buy you a drink. That sounds dangerous. That sounds like a trap. That's what that sounds like. Where is Pelham? It's right by Birmingham, right? When is the last time we won 3 SEC games in a row? I think Rick Ray did it. I think he did it once. I think he messed around and did it. His wife won't let him talk to other women. Well, no, I don't want to talk to other women because I love my wife. Did y'all see how well I handle that? Sounds a lot like Shrek. The Shrekking crew over here. You guys are doing great. Doing great. So, big game tonight. State and South Carolina. Have we talked about Jeremy Pruitt? What do you guys think about this Jeremy Pruitt thing? I don't hate it. I'm okay with it. I mean, it's a guy that our fan base connected with. He came down to Starkville, I think, on his own dime, and is visiting and is getting, the spoils of being kind of quasi-internet famous within the Starkville group. So I don't mind it. He gets to go to the game tonight. I'm jealous. Wish I could go to the game tonight. Jay Hammers, I think it's a fun story. Yeah, I do too. I do. I know some people don't like it, but and I guess maybe I see where they're coming from, but at the same time, what am I going to get upset about? Did you hear about Jeremy Pruitt's weekend visit to Start Vegas? Really? Hadn't heard that. No problem with all the basketball talk, says Les Young, but I'm really pumped for baseball at new facilities. Yeah, I am too. I just wonder what it's going to look like. What is baseball going to look like this year in that stadium? Because, the whole stadium is not going to be available yet. Are people just going to be sitting at the bottom? What's it going to look like this year? I don't know the answer to that question. I don't think any of us will really know what it truly looks like until March 6th or whatever it is. Derek Myers says, better than Stingray. Stingray has deleted all of his social media, Twitter, Facebook. Are you going to do a baseball preview? Says Flint Williamson. I don't. Maybe. I'm going to reach out. I was going to reach out and see if I could get Canizaro. I know he's done other podcasts. I was going to reach out and see if I could get him. Otherwise, who might be some old players I could get to talk about it? I was going to have Richard Williams on to talk about basketball today, but he had to cancel. But who could I get to talk about baseball? Who are some old players that would do a podcast? I'm asking you guys. I'm crowdsourcing here. Is there going to be a high wall in center field? Yeah, right. Think so. Same wall that's always been there, or same idea. Hello, Clyde and Joan Perry or Joanne from Lexington, lived in Eupora, now in Wichita, Kansas. So good for you. Jeff Brantley, that is a good one. Boy, I need to reach out and get Jeff Brantley. Wes Ray, Hunter Renfroe should be on. Well, Hunter Renfroe probably getting ready for spring training. But Jeff Brantley would be good. Wes Ray would be probably pretty good. Are you planning to visit during Super Bulldog weekend, says Woe Townsend? I am. My kids' spring break is April 2nd that week, and I'm going to take a 3 or 4 day vacation just to come to Mississippi and go bass and crappie fishing. Just to take my kids fishing. Hey, which reminds me, I need somewhere in Mississippi to take my kids bass and crappie fishing. So if you have a pond or a lake, hit me up. Message me on Facebook, because my family's 30-acre lake in Phoebe dried up. Levee broke, dried up. So I'm looking for that. When I bring my kids to Mississippi for our week-long hunting and fishing trip, fishing trip, I need somewhere to go. Get Ron Polk. Boy, that could get contentious. Will Clark, that would be a good one. Palmero is trying to make a comeback, ? Yes, he is. 53 years old, trying to make a comeback. Ecky's Pond on campus. Yeah, I guess you can fish there. I've seen people fishing there before. Come to Point City on Labor Day. That's the only week I always go to Point City. I always come home for the first college football weekend. So I will be there. Burke Masters, my favorite. Woe Townsend says that. That'd be a good one. Burke Masters. Landshark, you all right? There it is. Give me 2 more minutes. So we'll go ahead and close up shop here shortly. Thanks for being here, for talking everything that we've talked about today. Hello, Medina, Tennessee. Glad your kid is better. Thank you, Ray Simmons. Brent Rooker, says Bobby Lauder. Loves to talk state. If I can get Brent Rooker, that'd be a good one too. I need to reach out to all these guys, because I have basketball guys I can reach out to. I have football guys, but I don't really have a list of baseball guys that I can get on this podcast just at a moment's notice. I really look forward to having Richard Williams talk basketball too. I'm going to have him very, very soon. We've had him before, and he was fantastic. Flint Williamson just says bye. Okay, well, see you, Flint. That's Flint checked out early. You should have Matt White on the show to discuss Moorhead in the upcoming season. I've had Matt White many times, and it probably is time to have him again. I might try to have Steve Robertson tomorrow just to close up recruiting. We got 2 more days of recruiting. I might have Steve on the show tomorrow to close up recruiting. Lake Lee in Saltillo has reopened. It's better. Was it always called Lake Lee? Wasn't it called something else? Or isn't it called something else? It's somebody's name, right? I remember when they took it down about 7 or 8 years ago. Lamar something. Lake Lamar something. Jonathan Holder. Not a bad name right there. Thanks for making me out to be drunk, says Derek Myers. No, that was just a joke. That was just a joke. Getting hungry yet, Landshark? You are. Okay. Great time today. Enjoyed it. Thanks for being here. I'm going to go eat. They're going to go eat together. I'm going to go eat on the other side of the room. Until next time, my name is Brandon Walker. You've been listening to More Cowbell, the Mississippi State. I'm sorry. You've been watching More Cowbell, the Mississippi State podcast presented by SEC Country.